to sort of help with those two initiatives. I want to introduce a couple other core members of the Stakehouse team. Buddha is here. If you want to wave and say hi.
Hi, everyone.
And Remy's here as well.
Hello, everyone.
So they're sort of co-champions of the community that are helping out with a lot of stuff. I also want to call out Invetica.eth.
Hello, hello.
From the eStaker community, who helps us with a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and many other friends here. I am actually going to go ahead and disable the wait room. Sorry, 1 second. I'm newish to hosting Zoom meetings. Let me disable the wait room here real quick so people can join. Sweet. So for those of you that are watching along on YouTube, if you'd like to actually join a percent, shoot me a DM for next time and I'll give you the Zoom link. We just have it just sent out directly so we don't have too many people join and spam the call. So yeah, just like our last one, this is now our 5th community call, and agenda is pretty much the same. Just want to go over and talk about different projects we're working on. The first thing that we'll focus on is check in on the multi-client GUI challenge that SuperFizz initiated. We'll sort of, we have a few representatives from different projects that are here that'll talk about their progress there and sort of what they're looking at going forward. Next, we'll talk about any other projects that are currently in progress, which it doesn't look like we have a whole lot right now since we're primarily focusing on the multi-client GUIs. We can share some ideas on some new projects to come, whether we want to start working on them like right away, or if we want to just like log them in the list of project ideas. Maybe we'll come to it in the future. And then, yeah, we can just chat and hang out and talk about whatever. So I guess before I get anything started, does anybody have any questions or anything? Sweet. I will get things started. Sam, do you want to actually bring up the updates from the teams doc from last week?
Yeah, sure thing.
Amazing. And as I mentioned last time, I don't love being the only one talking, although I will be giving updates like for our projects and stuff, but feel free to interrupt me and ask any questions or correct me when I mispronounce anything or do anything like that. So sweet. I guess I'll sort of kick things off from the Wagyu perspective. So Wagyu, as I mentioned last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, is a tool, kind of like a suite of tools, primarily 2 tools. One is a GUI installer that installs and sets up all of your infrastructure for you from a Ethereum staking perspective. And then we also are building a key generation tool that is a disconnected app that can be utilized by other installers to allow people to generate keys without having technical abilities. I spent some time with the Wagyu team, including, there's a few different contributors. I see Jay here as well, who's been helping out, sort of outlining a roadmap of what it's going to take to get Wagyu fully featured for multi-client and switching between clients by December 1st. So first I'll share like sort of what kind of we were able to accomplish in the last couple of weeks for the Wagyu installer, and then I'll sort of talk a little bit about what we're focusing on for the next few months. So I'm excited to say that in the last couple of weeks, we got a new person to join our team, which is Jay here on the Zoom call. You can probably see him here. A very experienced React engineer, which is super exciting for me to have him on board. I'm not a very experienced React engineer. And so he's actually taught me pretty much everything I know about React. And he went and did a pretty in-depth audit of the existing infrastructure of the React app, which is running in Electron. So it's actually a desktop app, but it's React based. And we had a great chat about it yesterday, and we created a number of actionable items for things that we can improve about the code base that'll make it both like just a better architected app as well as easier for people to collaborate on. So he began that and did some code restructuring and is starting to work on some like dev tools and refactoring a few things. And some of that work will spill into the next couple of weeks. And yeah, so that was sort of the most exciting update there. Wagyu kind of is in a state where I want to work with Jay to like set up a little bit more infrastructure and sort of clear up a few things about the architecture and the project before we onboard a bunch more developers to work on it. And then that way it'll be a little easier for everyone to collaborate. So that's what I'll be working with him on the next couple of weeks. We should be ready for additional contributors here in a couple of weeks. And so, yeah, that's just about it for the Wagyu installer. I'll wait a little bit to talk about the key. Oh, sorry, roadmap forward. The roadmap forward, I broke it down into like 6 major action items. So one is this UI framework and tool reevaluation work, which we're working on right now. We also want to redesign the system check and the status pages to give you a better idea of what's going on with your underlying system, as well as what is the status of like your node and your validator.
That's for the installer though, right? Because
not that's not for the installer.
Yeah, because Sam is writing it into the keygen thing.
Oh, thank you, Buddha. Sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah, sorry, I skipped the order. This is all for the installer. Yeah.
Would you mind just repeating those? Because I already lost them. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. So looking forward on the installer, continued UI framework reevaluation, UI framework / tool reevaluation. The next thing we'll look at is, or I guess in no particular order, but redesigning the system check and the status pages. So the idea there is, yeah, just making things a little bit more clear and help users understand what's going on with their system. We want to migrate the backend to use Docker.
When you say redesign system, is it the UI or is it the backend?
It is,
or is both?
I guess it's both. It's both the UI and then also the system checks. We want to maybe determine additional system checks we want to do.
And maybe that ties in with the goal of maybe having some kind of a universal interface with, like, if we have different backends.
Yeah,
exactly.
So
like that.
Do you already have? I can't remember if I made a status page, or is it something we left back then? Is it something you need?
We do have a very elementary status page that just tells you whether your nodes are online and whether they're syncing. So whether, I guess, they're offline syncing or online. But that can definitely be reworked. And then you also created, Buddha, some designs in Figma, I don't know, a few months ago, which I'd like to revisit and see sort of how we can improve the existing design based on those too.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll look into the status page.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, migrating the backend to Docker, that's something I talked about a little bit last week. We want to support upgrading client software through the UI. So you should be able to just click a button and you update your client software. You don't need to do anything. Right now, we don't really support upgrades, but it's in a super early alpha phase. So that's okay. And then actually allowing you to import your validator keys into Wagyu, that's also not supported right now. So we want to do that. We decided to work on the keygen tool before actually implementing that aspect. And the last one is implementing client switching, which is a big component of Superfizz's challenge. And making that easier, but also safe is important. And so we're working on, we haven't quite started that yet, but we're working on figuring out a way to determine how we can do that through the app. So yeah, I guess that sort of is the overarching update about Wagyu and sort of what remaining steps we're working on. We're not going to accomplish all that before the next community call, but this is also not meant to be a sharing of like deadlines and sort of like a status update. It's meant to just be like general sharing about like our vision, like where we're going. And I hope that we can accomplish all that by December 1st. So that's what we're working towards.
What I'm not sure is the keygen, has the keygen a higher priority than the installer?
Yes,
because
it is.
Yeah, because it would make sense, because I think DAppNode, for instance, is waiting for something like that, I think.
Absolutely, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, that could be very useful for us.
100%. So that's definitely something. Maybe I did this a little backwards. Since the keygen tool isn't actually like an installer, I guess it's a component. I wanted to talk about the installer first, but the keygen is actually the highest priority. So I can actually jump into talking about that right now if you guys are interested.
Yeah, so what I was also thinking is that most clients that have some kind of client, like all the client supports depend on the Launchpad to deposit. And it's kind of a weird UX when you like create your keys, set up the client, and then you have to go through the whole Launchpad website. So ideally, there would be some kind of standalone website where you just go import the keys and just press deposit instead of going through 10 pages of the Launchpad website. So if someone is interested in forking the Launchpad website, like in cooperation with the Launchpad team, that would be nice. I don't know.
I know you hate that website.
It would probably be possible to do like a deep link to after the Wagyu keygen tool, go directly to the last page. That's probably possible as well.
I think they made it so you can't do that because I tried to do that, but maybe it was just my mistake.
Yeah, I mean, that would be smart of them. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. I also tried to do that, and it seems they did some URL magic to route you back to the beginning, which like I understand from a standpoint of like user education and making sure people know what they're doing. But I mean, I guess like at the beginning, very important, but as things are evolving and as tooling is evolving, like education takes place outside of the actual Launchpad itself. So I could see maybe collaborating with them to have a direct, more of a direct integration to deposit. So yeah, if that interests you and or if you are on the Launchpad team and you'd like to collaborate on that, definitely reach out. I forgot to mention this earlier, but we live pretty much on the Stakehouse channel on the eStaker Discord. We came up with a new URL to join our Discord. I believe it's discord.io/eStaker, ETHSTAKER. That might be on the screen right now on YouTube. So yeah, go ahead and join there if you want to join the discussion. So let's see here. Keygen tool. So I'll talk a little bit about the keygen tool. We made quite a lot of progress on the keygen tool. And again, this, we call it like the Wagyu keygen tool. It's kind of a part of this like Wagyu tool suite, but the keygen tool is meant to be a portable app that can integrate in any other installer. Can be used standalone, even if you're running your own node. And it's just it's basically a GUI around the deposit CLI. So I'm going to bang through a few exciting updates that happened in the last few weeks and shout out some people. We've actually gotten quite a number of contributors on this. So I didn't really do any of this work. It's all been done by the community, which is great. And then I'll talk about sort of what steps to come. So community member Rhythmic created a progress bar. I'm not going to do many demos today, but I really want to show you guys this progress bar. It looks pretty awesome. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. This will step on. Oh, I'm going to steal your screen share real quick. There you go. All right, cool. We are there. So again, this will be a clickable app. Haven't built the bundle yet, but this loads the app here. And a couple different things to highlight here, I guess. So one of the community members named the Squanch, and I got corrected on my pronunciation on that last week. And I think I just saw him join. Squanch, are you here?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Oh wait, he is, but he's muted.
He's muted. All right, he might be at work, so he might not be able to chime in. But I did talk to him, and I actually did watch Rick and Morty since 2 weeks ago. And I understand the Rick and Morty reference, but the original reference is to a different character in Trailer Park Boys. And so I don't know. He says he's open to like a new pronunciation based on Rick and Morty. but I will. Yeah, I just had to clarify things up there. Too bad Superfizz isn't here to hear the official update. But a big thanks to Squanch for changing mnemonic to secret recovery phrase. That appears a few different points in the app, and the general community is moving towards calling it a secret recovery phrase. It's a little bit more descriptive. MetaMask is also using that as well, so we decided to do that. He also updated a little bit of the terminology here, and we want to make sure that we're educating users properly. This is the progress bar that I was mentioning before. I think it looks pretty nice, and this is not actual mnemonic, so don't try and steal any money. But this will sort of guide you through the process and let you know where you're at. So that was pretty cool. So thanks for that, Rhythmic. Squanch mnemonic, keyboard navigation as well. So Rhythmic added some cool keyboard shortcuts to different steps. So that makes things a little bit easier to navigate. Abhinav is a new community member too. He actually added an enhancement, which I'm actually not on the main branch right now, so I'm not showing to you, but he added clarification around this network selector up here, which is pretty cool. And then I got some good UX feedback from another new community member, Ed, who might be on the call, I'm not sure. And then also a friend of mine from in real life named Henri, who gave me some good UX feedback as well. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to comb through that and create some issues that came out of that to make things a little bit clearer. So that is about it for what we've done. And I guess looking forward, a few steps that I see for Wagyu Keygen, and this, we're actually like pretty close to the finish line. So the first one is just additional UX review and testing, and then UI tweaks based on that feedback. We want to add support for operating systems that aren't Linux. We want to basically productionize the app. There's like a few build warnings and things like that we want to just go through. We want to handle installing missing dependencies. So you should be able, if your system doesn't have like Python or whatever installed, we should just handle that for you. And then some additional, I guess it's kind of fixed in UX, but it deserves its own bullet point. Some additional language refinement and clarity around things like the password and the starting index and things like that, to make sure that users are educated on what they're doing. And I'm not perfect, so this, I might have missed a few steps. Like we need, productionization kind of includes like building a bundle and things like that. But I think here in the next, I don't know, a few weeks or so, once we knock out the rest of these things, I think the tool will be ready for auditing and some more widespread testing on the test nets. And then hopefully we can get into the hands of all sorts of other people to use to integrate into their apps. So I'm pretty excited about that. So thanks to everybody in the community that's reached out to help. I really couldn't do it without you guys. So that is it, I guess, for updates from projects where I'm primarily working. Since it's a short break, I guess I will announce that we do have a POAP for this call. We are going to distribute it both to people on the Zoom and to YouTube streamers. Sorry to the YouTube folks who didn't get a POAP last week. We weren't quite ready for it. But so we're using the eStaker POAP Discord bot. So go to the eStaker Discord, that is discord.io/eStaker. And then find the user that's named POAP-bot and direct message that user, the term which will be popping up on the screen shortly if it's not already there. The claim word this week is GUI stake, GUISTAKE, one word, and you will get your POAP.
Feels good, man. I have it.
Amazing. I'm going to claim mine right now, actually.
Maybe I could go next.
Yeah, why don't you jump in there? Or, sorry?
Before we do that, Jay, did you have a question? I saw the hand raise emoji.
Oh, no question.
Okay, just wanted to make sure before we went forward. Go ahead.
So I've been working on monitoring. So I've been diving quite deep on.
Oh, cool. Remy, can we actually wait for a second? We'll talk about the GUI installers first, and then we'll circle back to monitoring.
Yep.
because I saw your video. It's really awesome. So sticking to GUI installers, I guess, Belma, do you want to talk next about what you're working on?
Sure, thank you. I think my colleague Marin gave you the introduction and demo last time, so I'm not gonna repeat that, but for folks maybe who are new here, I'm just gonna briefly explain what Chain Guardian is. Basically, Chain Guardian is a desktop application with graphical interface, of course, where you can easily start your validator or validators, multiple, and most importantly, manage them and monitor them, receive metrics, and see how it's performing and so on. We've been funded initially by Moloch DAO and lately by Ethereum Foundation as well. Well, since we've been working on a multi-client for a while now, for like selecting any of the existing Beacon node versions to start on. So that's been some time in development now, but the progress currently is that we only still have some work left to do with Prism mostly. Things are not standardized yet, as you may know, as you have hands-on experience as well. And yeah, so some clients and their APIs were only had a smaller difference than the others. But yeah, I think we're still pretty much starting with Prism, but hopefully we will resolve that soon as well. On the other side, since last call and since Marin's presentation, we've been working on supporting weak subjectivity, so user can sync their nodes faster using one of the weak subjectivity states. So that's something cool that's been going on, and as well keeping up to date with latest version as always some breaking changes and development goes on into space. So just trying to keep track of Lodestar updates, of Teku updates, and so on. So yeah, a lot of going on. I didn't prepare any presentation, but for folks who might be wondering what it's about and what you can do, I'll actually just share my screen shortly to let you know where to find Chain Guardian. Okay, I guess I'm screen sharing now. So everything is on GitHub. It's fully transparent. All work is there. This is a project management tool that we use, ZenHub, where you can see like what's going on. I'm not sure if you like know about that already, but you can test Chain Guardian in its current state and with our latest release. So have fun exploring around, or if you want to contribute to the project, everything is on GitHub basically. And on our website, Chain Guardian Node Factory IO. Yeah, and what is important that we support all distributions. So yeah, that's mostly like what's happening right now and at which stage we are in. Yeah, and Chain Guardian is now under product of ChainSafe. As Node Factory has been recently acquired by ChainSafe, so we'll be having maybe some changes there in the not in the direction, but in the effort, and hoping that with ChainSafe as well, we'll be growing Chain Guardian much faster and releasing new things and features and testing things.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks for the update. I totally hear you on the lack of standardization. Lansky has posted a link in the Zoom chat, which is a beginning of a discussion for standardization of some APIs. Here, I'll post that in the YouTube chat as well. or I guess it, so yeah, maybe we can continue the discussion there. But yeah, cool, very exciting.
Thank you.
Lansky, do you want to go ahead and give an update next for DevNode?
Yeah, sure. Basically for DAppNodes, the road to multi-client validator on DAppNode has four paths right now. And number one would be to just add a UI to the client, to just ask the client implementers to add a UI to this client. So as we know, let me summarize the state of affairs here. Prism has a beautiful UI. It works, and that's potentially why most of us use Prism. DAppNode has the objective of getting people who would not otherwise have the technical ability to stake to be able to do the whole process seamlessly, and that's why we need this UI. So that's one of our requirements. And that's why we're using Prism. Lighthouse, there's a UI in development. There is an unknown ETA. We don't know when it's going to be done, but the backend is already implemented, and we've seen some designs, and it looks just beautiful. I can't wait for it to be done. Teku is not actively pursuing this, given the type of customer that they're after, and Nimbus is interested in developing one potentially, or at least adapting the API to do so. So number one, pass the ball to the clients for them to implement a UI. That's not necessarily going to happen, and there's probably potentially better ways. So number two would be to develop a standard API so we can use a UI, no matter which one, and connect it to the to no matter what validator client. Given that there's already the Prism UI developed, and there's the Lighthouse coming up as well, if there was some work on the backend in order to be able to pipe in the existing UIs onto any sort of validator, and that is Belma Colfax, the sort of the PR that I put in the chat. If there was such standard, all our problems would be solved. We would be able to put, no matter what API, what UI, and connect it. Maybe client switching would be fairly easy to do in that case. Option number three: use a remote signer with a UI attached. So some implementations of validator clients have a support for remote signers. So we would need to just use to put a UI on the remote signer for key management. That is also an option. And then we could use that remote signer to just connect with Prism. I think it supports a remote signer. Teku supports remote signer. So that would be a way to use a UI with Teku. There's no currently way right now. Lighthouse, I think it's to be implemented soon, and Nimbus is not yet implemented. So that's the third option. I think Teku is the one that's the most advanced on slashing protection, and it also includes a slashing protection database within the remote signer. So thanks Teku, because that looks really sweet. Finally, we get to the fourth option, which is using the Prism validator client with other beacon nodes. Please note that this option is fairly imperfect because we're still using Prism's validator client, but it would add a substantial amount of security, because if we can change the beacon nodes, that's where most of the juice happens. Most of the opportunities for a big fuck up and basically consensus failures can happen. So if we can use the Prism validator client with the Prism UI, but it can connect to other beacon nodes, that is already a big step that we could use in order to try to mitigate any problems that would happen from the Prism validator, the Prism beacon chain blowing up, or which might or might have happened before, as depends on how much memory do you have, and that's pretty much it. Those are the 4 ways that we have identified in DAppNode, and mostly we're working on the standardization side, because then like that would open the way for anybody to develop a UI, right? Like if there's a standard API that you can call, Stakehouse can make a UI, DAppNode can make a UI, whatever. DAppNode, by the way, will not make a UI. This is something that we try to avoid. But yeah, those are the options right now.
Cool, that's awesome. And yeah, great job describing the options. I mean, kind of like our vision for Wagyu is building, as like, I think it was Buddha Remy mentioned earlier, like basically building a generic UI that can plug into any underlying framework of like how you run your nodes. So of course we'll have like our option, which we're going to run on fdocker, but the idea that the Wagyu API could plug into anything. And a lot of that depends on, yeah, more standardized APIs. And like, we're still a little earlier on in the development of developing Wagyu, and we're going to run into a lot of the same issues as we try and like get into client switching and things like that a little bit later. So yeah, excited to sort of go through this with you guys and strategize on how we can do that.
Yeah, by all means, do hop onto this standardization issue and the ETH2 APIs and contribute to that, because I think the more people make noise over there, the more priority it will get on the implementation.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks. I posted that link in the YouTube chat for those not on the Zoom call. Sweet. And then to the last team that's working towards, or at least that I know of, please reach out or introduce me to others that are working on this. Would love to have them here. Is the Ethereum team, and they have a lot of work already underway. They have a fully supported GUI that supports all clients, does not support switching that I know of right now, that runs nodes on a remote host. Were not able to make it this week, but I spoke with them and they will be joining on our next call on the 25th. And then they'll do an overview of Ethereum, how it works, and what they'll be working on sort of in the next few months to try and get client switching and things like that involved. So excited to hear from them. So I think that pretty much wraps up the multi-client GUI portion, unless I see mostly familiar faces on the Zoom call. So I'm assuming there's no new groups that I don't know of. So at that, why don't I pass it over to Remy? Yeah, do you want to talk about what you're working on?
Yeah, sure. I've been
yeah,
been working on writing guides for monitoring and alerting. I also did a monitoring video tutorial. So if you guys want to learn how to do monitoring on your system, this is geared towards like Ubuntu and people who did their own setup following some kind of guides, maybe summary stats guides or like the coin tissue guide. And so if you want to check out that video tutorial, I also have a written guide for like every steps and all the instructions. And I'm working on something similar for alerting. So like if you have low resources, like if you're close to using all your disk and like you don't have any more disk space, you'll get an alert and then you can start pruning or like you can start cleaning stuff. And so that can be very helpful for a bunch of users. Like we've had a bunch of support requests where user had their disk full and they could not like resolve their issues. So that's one way to help them with this. And that's pretty much what I worked on recently.
Awesome. Yeah, I recommend checking out that YouTube video. Some great information in there. So thanks for putting that together, Remy. On the monitoring notes, we didn't rehearse this, but I will, Buddha is still here. Buddha, Beacon Chain app is, maybe this is not the leak, is at least testing some monitoring, maybe release some monitoring features to the Beacon Chain app, correct?
Yeah, it's not a leak. It's already released. It was released yesterday, and I think the DAppNode guys also are interested in implementing it. So what you can do is basically, so for Nimbus, for Lighthouse, they have a native implementation where you can just add one more flag to push the metrics of your system to a specific endpoint. And in that case, we give you a specific endpoint on the beacon chain side, on the beacon chain explorer side, and then you can just see how your system performs while you are not at home. Because I think just running it is one thing, but also having the peace of mind when you're not at home is another thing. And for the other clients, so Techo is also going to have its native implementation soon. And for Prism and Nimbus, we wrote an open source exporter, which you can just spin up. It's like, I don't know, 500 lines of code. So if you want to read through it, go for it. And that basically pushes the metrics also to a specific endpoint. It's not tied to beacon chain, so you can use it for anything. But yeah, we published that yesterday.
Awesome. Nice work. Thanks.
I think that also if just for Wago, for example, I think there are many use cases what we can use exporter for, because anyone can just use it. It's fine, even though if we pushed it.
Yeah, definitely. I think we should definitely talk about ways to integrate and yeah, utilize that for sure for Wagyu.
Yeah, looks super sweet. I want to get it on DAppNode ASAP.
Nice. Are there any other ongoing projects or new projects that people are interested in talking about?
I had a few. Well, we've been talking about different like additional project ideas. I'm gonna just throw them right here. We were talking about creating a tool to help people secure their mnemonic or their secret phrase, and so maybe with some kind of secret sharing or encryption, like the good practices of how you should store your mnemonic or your secret phrase. Um, we might not go up to the point where we manage your death, like like when you die, uh, your relatives can access your mnemonic, but maybe you'll get to that point. We'll see if that project idea goes somewhere. We were also talking about another tool to automate the pruning, so that like maybe it can detect like when you're low on disk space and then start the pruning process, or like at least notify you about this. And another idea for like some kind of alerts on client updates, and maybe if we dream big, like automated client updates, but maybe that's too far to reach, but we'll see. So that's a few ideas that we've been throwing around.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, a lot of good ideas. Again, like if you are a developer and you're watching this either now or in the future, and any of this stuff interests you, feel free to either start working on it, or if you want some help, or just want to engage in the community, shoot any of us a DM. Come say hi on the Stakehouse Discord, and we can probably find some other people that are interested in something. One of these that can work with you on it. So just reach out, and let's, yeah, over time. Very excited to see more and more of the stuff getting worked on. We also have a backlog of project ideas on our GitHub, which I'll share a link to afterwards, where we sort of just keep a list of all these different ideas for the future. So sweet.
Hey,
So I
Remy,
think, yeah, go ahead.
That was a really good idea. The video or like the tutorial, some sort of educational things. We get a lot of people really scared on, yeah, running out of space. Like what happens if my DAppNode blows up? What happens if something happens to my validator? And I think it would be very reassuring to have this body of knowledge of like, hey, as long as you keep, so this is how you keep your mnemonic safe. And if you have this, then you can recover everything. You can regenerate the key store. You can regenerate all the pieces that you need. You can build it up from scratch, and it will not take you more than, let's say, an afternoon worth of work. The longest should be syncing the beacon chain, and if there's projects like Chain Guardian which are working in weak subjectivity, then that would not even take long at all. So it would be really reassuring for some users to have this body of knowledge. So I think this is an amazing idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, again, it can be used for all sorts of things across installers, across different types of infrastructure management. I think, yeah, I totally agree. Cool. Well, I think that just about does it for project ideas. I don't know if there's anything anybody else wants to bring up. But yeah, I guess that just about does it for the call. I'll leave just a couple seconds here for
Maybe I'll just drop one more thing, but that's
Please, yeah.
more for the future. Like, how do we implement withdrawing? Like, once withdrawals are enabled, maybe something for next time. But I think that's something we completely forgot right now. Is that going to be on the key gen UI? Is that going to be on the staking UI? I don't know, but maybe someone does.
What do you say? Why do you want to withdraw your ETH, Buddha? Don't you want to stake forever?
Right.
I'm obviously kidding. That is something that is very important that we should be thinking about now when we're developing these tools, so that because the withdrawal date is going to come probably a few months post merge, and we definitely want to support that for users who are interested in withdrawing.
Is that even spec'd, the withdrawal?
I don't think so. But the UX, I mean, you can think of the UX. It's basically, I think it's just sending a transaction and requesting it. But I don't know.
Yeah, I guess like withdrawing and then re-enter. I don't know. Yeah, there's.
Maybe like all. It's such a small feature, but even having like excess, withdrawing excess ETH, so everything above 32 ETH can be withdrawn automatically. Something like that. I'll think about it.
Cool. One other thing that I noticed, I have not been looking at the YouTube chat too closely. Sorry, guys. But it looks like maybe the POAP claim codes ran out at some point. It's interesting because we minted a whole bunch, and I saw maybe like 60 people watching on the stream, and there's about 11 here. So I'm wondering how we ran out, but we'll look into that and we'll try and mitigate that for future calls. But sorry, I guess if it ran out already, you didn't get one, I apologize, but we'll work on that for next time.
Yeah, the only other thing I was looking at the notes here are a couple other updates that we had from last time. I'll just give people a minute to look through these. I don't know that there's a whole lot of additional items to throw out for these, because I think we've transitioned most of these into the other topics, but just give people a minute.
So yeah, the ETH2Ks team, led by CY and LaContra, I believe is the Discord username of the other person involved. She reached out. They've been pretty busy with some other stuff, but they're still excited about contributing to the Ethereum ecosystem. And they'll probably be circling back maybe in a few weeks or months to join more discussions. Other than that, I think most everything is, yeah, within other topics.
Cool.
Sweet. All right. Well, I guess that closes things up for us. Thanks again for joining. This is Stakehouse Community Call number 5. We're doing this bi-weekly. The next one will be 2 weeks from today, same time. That's 4 p.m. UTC, 12 noon if you're on the East Coast of the US. We will be publishing the YouTube stream publicly. If you want to present or participate in the discussion, shoot me a DM, Colfax1983 on Discord, ColfaxLB on Twitter, or any one of us that you see, and we'll get you on here. And yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you.
I know.
See you guys.
Thank you guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one.